This episode is sponsored by National Technology Management. Visit trustntm.com for more information. I'm Kelly Siegel, and this is Harder Than Life, a podcast about self-love, self-awareness, business, and health. We tell outrageous stories and boil everything down to simple, practical advice you can start using today. Let's get living. Welcome to another electrifying episode of The Harder Than Life. Today, we're deep diving into the depths of trauma and personal transformation with a force to be reckoned with. She's not just a coach, she's a beacon of hope for men seeking purpose, passion, and healing. With over 700,000 followers and a knack for breaking down complex psychological concepts into bite-sized revelations, she's revolutionizing the way we understand trauma. Get ready to be inspired and challenged as we welcome the powerhouse, the visionary, and the one and only Elise Micheals to the show.
Hey, Kelly, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, you sound really
What
excited.
An intro. What an intro. I mean, I'm just like I'm listening to you talk about me, and I'm like, wow.
Hey, you did the work, man. You did the work. And as I told you before we hit record, I am rather excited. We have a big following of men, and I believe that as men, and you just put this up in a post, we set the tone. And when I was my journey to being harder than life, I was a pig, and I was the guy that needed your coaching. So, and it started off with looking internal and going. So let's just jump right into this. Could you share a bit about your personal journey with trauma and how it led you to become a men's coach focused on healing said trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all go through struggles in life, and I had a pretty dysfunctional childhood that I didn't recognize was dysfunctional until I was like 25. And that's when I sought therapy and started to recognize that, oh, wow, some of these experiences that I had probably weren't very normal. And they created these behavior patterns within me. And while I really loved counseling and therapy, I felt like I still wasn't solving the problems. And so that's when I myself dove into my own learning on trauma therapy, neuroscience, neurolinguistics programming, like anything I could do to solve my own problems. And once I started to recognize that there was, in fact, a formula to solve trauma, I started posting videos about it on LinkedIn, and men were the only ones who reached out to me. So that's when I started working with men, because I just realized they didn't have as much support as women did. And it changed my whole life.
You posted yesterday of that you're taking that the comments are crazy, which I am no secret that the people blow up my comments about everything. So what specifically are you taking on fire for that people don't like, which is just nothing more than the trigger that they need to work on, which is people don't realize. I mean, if you trigger them, those are great customers. But what are you taking on? What are you hearing? What are people saying specifically about your posts?
Yeah, so I mean, things are totally different than when I started 4 years ago. Society is changing rapidly. The way people view themselves and what they deserve is changing rapidly. And I think that we've really become a society that has adopted more of a everyone should adapt to me and my triggers and my traumas, as opposed to what can I do to work on myself to see how maybe the world sees or performs. And I think it's really handicapped us. So as I've started to become more honest with my posts and just say, hey, we need to take more responsibility for XYZ. And you've seen my posts, they're not blaming anybody, but people take personal responsibility as almost like a self shame. And then they look for the next person to blame, which is me. So the comments have become an entire world of twisting the content and blaming women or blaming me. You know, I have comments that say I've become gross, which is just so weird.
You
But yeah,
I found it
that like
very
they're not
ironic
following.
that you started that off with what people deserve. I think, no, I don't think, I know. You don't deserve anything. You earn things in this world. So that's the whole problem, in my opinion. Go out and earn what you want. You said deserve, and that it's post pandemic. It's even worse. It's like everybody is entitled to something, and it's a free country, so I can light you up on social media, and it's like, dude, you're just highlighting your childhood trauma. So you brushed right over your childhood trauma. I don't know enough about you. I know enough from the show prep. Somebody's probably watching this and doesn't know who you are at all. People love hearing the story. So can you give us the deep dive of what the trauma was? I mean, I'm looking at this beautiful, successful, happy, smiling woman, but that obviously wasn't the case. So would you care to deep dive into what the childhood trauma was?
I can reveal a little bit of it. I mean, I usually don't go over my story because I don't find it relevant. But and once again, trauma is not necessarily based upon an event as much as it's based upon your psychological impact of the event. So different things can be traumatizing for different people. The trauma that I acquired from the childhood, like my dad made some decisions that were not healthy and it broke up our family. Um, I have a few siblings. We're all 7 years apart, all different dads. Like, see, it already starts off like there was no stability. Um, my dad was in and out of jail. My mom was also in and out of jail. There was a lot of alcoholism. Um, and the things that impacted me the most, besides just like finding out because I didn't know when I was a child until a little bit later on what actually happened, um, was there was a lot of lying, a lot of trying to cover things up, and complete lack of personal responsibility. Then my dad ended up losing his job. We lost the house. Um, I started working at like 11, and he took the money from me, like, and said, I'll pay you back. But, like, so like I developed this understanding of what love is and understanding of how men love and understanding of even how women love because both my parents were totally emotionally unavailable to support me. So I grew up by myself. So I became this hyper independent, um, happy child. I was like student council president and, on the homecoming court. But I was totally disconnected from my life. The police would show up to my house and they would try to get me to control my dad. So like, and even as an adult, when your parents don't take responsibility for their actions, I would like huge lessons I learned. Like one of them was, like my dad taught me how to be a coward. And, he told me to lie to the police, and the police caught me in the lie. And that was like a huge moment of shame for me. So when I was faced with decisions later on, like in high school, and the choice was like to lie or to tell the truth, I lied. And then my friend told me that she told them the truth. And that moment changed my life forever because her mom told her, whatever you're going to do, make sure you just are honest about it and face the consequences that you face. So there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from this. Obviously, that wasn't like a very good storyline. I told you bits and pieces, but that's just some of the stuff that was going on.
That was very important, just so you know. So let me ask first of all, thank you for sharing. I can already see you started grabbing your hair. I could tell it wasn't easy, and it's not easy. It never is. Um, but I will tell you my advice. I'm a little bit older than you, and I've been through it. That the more that you say that, and the more you get comfortable with it, and here I am telling you an expert, but I'm just telling you my experience. Is the more you can name it and talk about it, the more you take away its power and you take back your life. Because most of that stuff is not the truth. It's your truth, but it's not the truth. We tell ourselves thoughts are magical lies. But I'm going to dig into this a little deeper, and I want to highlight something you just said because it just gave me the butterflies. My dad taught me to be a coward. Um, Lying, I say a lot. Lying is a form of cowardice. A lie hurts forever. The truth hurts once. It is all kinds of power saying the truth. The truth is sexy, but it is scary. Having said that, that chaos and that. Let me guess. Did you start dating guys who are emotionally unavailable?
No,
Really?
I
So
didn't.
tell me the story. What happened?
I dated men in high school who were very sweet to me. My first boyfriend was for 2.5 years, and he treated me very, very well. And I was a fucking asshole. I was the toxic person. This is the thing, and this is stuff I have yet to make content about. But I was so and we're gonna have to talk about this later on the podcast because now I have theories as an adult about like how like the weird dynamics of relationships because I was like I didn't treat him well and he treated me very well. Um, and then the next boyfriend I got, same thing. And yeah, later on in life, I was so after those two, after my high school relationships, I was single and celibate for 5 years. Like I didn't, I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't do anything. Yeah. So the next boyfriend that I had at 24, that's when I started partnering with people who were probably not so good for me. So it didn't happen for me until later on in life. Um, and then probably my most recent relationship was the most toxic relationship I've ever been in. And it was weird because it happened for me backwards when I had all these tools. But it was really mind blowing and eye opening for me to see the lessons unfold. And I think that they unfold when we're ready for them too.
Absolutely. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen when you're ready. Because if I would have tried this stuff at 24, I would have never understood. I had to go through some life experiences. I didn't really unpack my life until good 40, maybe even 43. So what this is why I developed the Heart and Life brand. I want people to realize that as soon as I started doing the work, yes, it sucked. I hated it. But man, once you start getting to the other side and reaping the benefits, it isn't harder than life. It's easier than life. Life becomes infinitely possible. You're 30 years old. You started early. Life, if you when you continue down this road, life is going to get infinitely better. And when you're I can't wait to see what you're doing at 40 and at 50 because you started early. Everybody in the personal development space says, "Oh, I don't have any regrets. I don't have regrets." I have regrets. I didn't start a little bit sooner, just a little bit. I knew at 30 I needed to do something, and yet I waited till 43. I want half of those years back because I want to help more people. I could have helped a lot more people. The brand is blowing up. The podcast is blowing up because people are resonating with what we're saying. And I say the vulnerable, tough things that really happen. I mean, you want to talk childhood trauma. I was almost killed several times by my parents. I was drowned by my stepfather. I had to empty a piss jar. I can say it just like that because I've healed it. I've done the violent work it took. So let's dig into that with you because most of our listeners right now are men. And I can tell you right now, the bitchier that the woman was, the more unavailable she was, that was a challenge for me. And it sounds like you and I would have hit it off back in the day. And then it would have been explosive.
That's what I'm saying. This is the thing that confuses me, Enter, because after that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go 50-50. I totally like have respect. They're working, I'm working, and my relationships went fucking downhill. They went downhill. And then so after this most recent relationship, I was like, yo, maybe I fucked up along the way somehow. Like, I don't think this is how it goes. So it's just very interesting. I would love to get your perspective on this. Because when I was demanding everything, I fucking got it, you know?
Well, it's because and deep. You know as well as I do. I've had Sabrina Zohar on here. I've had
I
Stephanos
love her.
Sifados. I've had Jason who introduced us, and I read this. So little known fact. You might not know. The listeners will know this, but you might not know. The reason why the Heart of Life podcast and brand exists is a love story. I got tired of being a drunken whore and I was attracting drunken whores. Sorry for the ex-girlfriends. I apologize. It is what it is. This is about me, not about you. So having said that, I'll be nicer. I kept attracting emotionally unavailable women. So I looked at me, and this is what people don't do, how we started. Is it about me that was emotionally unavailable? And what did I have to do to become the person I wanted to attract? Set out to do that. And it was several years of introspection, aloneness, and really just facing my childhood trauma that I'd never faced. And I did it through EMDR, hypnotherapy, talk therapy, plant medicine therapy, journaling, podcasts, reading. And eventually I kind of broke it loose and went, I'm on to something here. And then the final thing was I wrote a book all about it. And that took away all the childhood pain. Like, yeah, my mom almost killed me when I was 9 years old, like literally almost. If my sister weren't there, I'd be dead. So you when your loved ones you can't trust or you don't feel safe, it creates all kinds of shit. So that's what you have. So what you're doing is going to help a lot of people. And again, this was a long intro, but I have so many men that reach out to me. And this is why I drank. So I was a big partier because everybody loved drunk Kelly. He was the life of the party. The women loved him. And I didn't have to feel anything. And I would go get me some Elise and I would be like, yes, until the calamity and chaos and all of our childhood trauma would butt heads and inevitably explode. And then I would go back and I would go back and I would go back because I could fix her if I just loved her more, if I just listened more. It was my fault. No. They were broken, bro. You got to move on and you got to raise the bar so you don't attract people like that. So I am open to anything and everything. I have done a lot of work on this. I've done a lot of reading, and I can give you male perspective on top of male perspective. Now, and this is the point, guys, that I want you guys to go to EliseMicheals.com and look at her Better Man membership. There's a couple guys in my DMs, and I talk to one of them every day who he keeps chasing after this woman who wants nothing to do with him and only uses him as a security blanket when she's down and out. And I keep going, dude, love yourself. Dude, love yourself. And it's hard to explain. So, having said that, how do you manage to distill complex psychological concepts into easily digestible sound bites? And why is this approach important in reaching out and helping these audience and dig and deep dive into what I just said? Because that's what you're all about. And that's what the people need. That's what everybody's in my DMs need. They need your easily digestible sound bites. So take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, it's important because people need to feel understood before they feel like they can be helped by someone. If we don't feel like someone gets us, if we don't feel heard, then why would we ever think that they could have the answer? But the more we feel like someone knows us and understands a little bit of what we're going through and can kind of explain it, it helps unlock a part of ourselves that trust that, okay, they know the problem, so maybe they know the answer. And when you can start to trust someone, like you said, if we have a foundation of not being able to trust our loved ones, not being able to trust those we've poured into, it's really hard to figure out where to go for the answer. And so having someone open up a little bit of their trust allows them to trust themselves a little bit more, allows them to share their story a little bit more. And then they're open to newer suggestions, newer perspectives, newer ways of doing things.
So for me, alcohol, drugs, and social media were not the answer. What role does that play in your clients? And how often do you have to just say no social media, no drinking, no drugs?
Well, when clients come to me, they're not necessarily wrapped up in those things. I think if that's the main source of your life, you're in the distraction mode. And when clients come to me, they're in the Hail Mary. They have tried everything, they've done everything, they've gotten to the last point of their distractions. And I'm not a specialist who can coach alcoholics or people who are addicted to drugs. Like, you have to kind of go to facilities for that and therapists for that. A lot of my men do taper on the edge of the alcohol, but mostly workaholism. So, like, they're not taking a break for themselves, they're not sitting aside to really reflect. And that's always the first thing I tell them is, like, we have to take some time for just you to start understanding how you're responding to the environment, how you're processing information, the stuff that hurts, the stuff you're angry about, so that we can actually get to the core of finding answers and that you don't suffer from these things anymore and you don't feel the need to escape from your life.
That's fire. Need to escape from your life. What would your response be to people? And I'm sure they say this. So when I really started feeling myself healing and knowing because I was reacting to situations differently and I was saying no to things I usually say yes to, logical. I'd look around and I'd catch myself saying this. This is your NLP background that I'm going to tap into is There's nobody healed out here. And it is, it literally, once you really do the work, the dating pool becomes very, very small. What is your answer to that?
I think that it's true and then it's also false, right? Because whatever we tell ourselves is what we end up manifesting. Like you said, if you're a drunken whore, you're going to meet drunken whores, or whatever the equivalent to the codependency is of that, right? And I love how you said, I would get me some Elise, because me and you would not have gotten along, because I was also a straight edge, like a strict straight edge. Like, I did not drink alcohol. I didn't eat anything with alcohol, and I judged people who drank alcohol until I was 27. So I was like Midwestern, you know, um, totally strict about it. Now I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I would have
Where was
I
this
would have
answer?
corrupted you, but not necessarily drinking, but
No,
just
I couldn't be corrupted. That was the thing, is I was so hardcore. I was the one, like, this is what I'm saying, is like I was like the complete opposite of you. Like, we have strong personalities. We were in opposite realms.
yeah. No, I
So
understand that.
we would hate each other.
I'm a chameleon. I would have say the challenge would have been great for me. I'd have been like, sweet, she's so cute and sense and I gotta crack it. And I would have played the image, because deep down we're actually a lot alike. I saw that you just got back from. Did you go to Thailand? Is that where you were at?
Yeah, I was in 5 countries in Asia.
Yeah, that was. I went and did the same tour, but I did the Hangover tour. So it was 3 weeks in several countries. I did the same stuff, but I went there to party, and we did literally the Hangover 2 before the Hangover 2 came out, and it was insane. But I'd like to go back. I was watching your social media and living vicariously, like, yeah, I remember being there vaguely. So there's a lot that we have that would be in common. We would have figured that out, had crazy freaking fun, and then killed each other. But there's a better way. That's why you're on the Hard and Life podcast, and that's what I want people to talk to. So here's a big one from a woman. Women, all men cheat, and which a lot do. Why do men cheat?
Yeah, okay, I'm glad you said that, because now I remembered what I was going to say before. When you said, the thought process of all men cheat, or all women do this, or there's no one healed out there. You have something in your brain called the reticular activation system, and it's what filters information. So it's exactly that example that everybody gives. If you're looking to buy a new Toyota Corolla, suddenly everybody has a Toyota Corolla. Like, you just start witnessing it because you're thinking about it more constantly and consistently. If you keep thinking about all men cheat, your brain is going to look for proof that all men cheat, and it's going to start to find all the men that are cheating, or all the people that aren't healed. And that's what you just start to attract in your life. So, yes, there's a lot of men that cheat, and yes, there's a lot of women that cheat. But, like, there's also plenty of men and women that don't cheat. And what do you want to surround your life with? Because if you're always affirming something to yourself, it creates a certain personality that you start to have. And if you always think that people aren't healed, people are cheating, no one's doing the work, like, you're going to become very bitter and distrustful of people, and life is just going to feel just awful. Like, I can't imagine. Like, I've never thought like that. And it's not good. Try to train your brain to think about the person that you are. If you're a person who doesn't cheat, if you're a person who's doing the work, think, I'm just going to meet people who are like me on the same path.
The cool thing about the RAS, the reticular activating system, is it could be tricked the other way too. You could say the world is
Yeah,
abundant. The world is amazing. There's amazing,
exactly.
beautiful people.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you'll start noticing amazingly healed and normal people. And really it starts with signaling the universe that you're not going to allow anything else. It's putting a standard and a boundary in place and saying anything below that is just a no. It's just a no for me. And that's where it becomes lonely. And most people can't tolerate the loneliness because they'd rather be with someone, the familiar misery, they'd rather be with the familiar misery than alone with themselves, which is the scariest place in the be. I say misery loves company. I take it a step further and say misery hates being alone.
Yes. Yes. And it's exactly like what you just said. And that's the problem that I face with a lot of men. Like, when you brought up my content, is whenever I say, there are emotionally available women out there who do want to hear your heart, who do want to hold space for you, the comments that I get from so many men are, oh, I tried that once and it totally backfired on me. Or, anytime I try that, the women always leave me. And it's like, you don't realize how that's working in your favor, because chances are you probably partnered with someone who wasn't capable, but that doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. You have to be able, like you said, to work through that tough space where at first, okay, the universe says, okay, you want to be this person now? Well, like, it needs time to bring you the new people, and you have to be strong enough to say, the people who are not aligned anymore don't fit in my life. And I'm going to hold out through this limbo period. I'm going to hold out through this period of pain, because I know that there's another spot that exists for me where people are accepting and loving and actually want to do the work. Most people don't get there. Like you said, they just blame it on themselves and feel like they're doing something wrong. And then they become bitter about it and keyboard warriors. And that doesn't make sense.
I'm going to go a little bit spiritual on you and just say that that's God saying there's still lessons to be learned. There's still more work to be done. And I would tell you, when you're going in there, in those relationships, exactly what you said, you either get what you want or you get what you need. You get what you want, the person, the relationship, the amazingness, or you get what you need in that they leave because they're not good for you. And either one is a win. And keep going, because as long as you're growing, you're going to learn. And wisdom comes from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. So go do the thing. And the thing that drives me crazy when people say, "Oh, I did that once." Really? And it didn't work? I went to the gym once and I didn't get any bigger. Oh, damn. Where's that magic pill?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard. And I don't want to invalidate how anybody feels, right? That's not what the whole point of our conversation is, to just like invalidate or make people feel ashamed because they're thinking this. It's just to say, this is a normal process of trying a new thing and building a new regime and becoming a new person. There's going to feel like bumps in the road. There's going to feel like failures. There's going to feel like times you're doing it wrong. But at the end of the day, especially for men, focus less on what the world thinks you should be or do, and focus more on the type of man that you want to be. So then, if a woman doesn't align with you, you're not trying to change yourself just to adapt to her standard. You are saying, okay, am I a man who does this, 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 and this? Okay, then I feel good about myself. I know I'm in the right track, and she just doesn't align with me. And you can move on to the next, right?
You're beautiful. What Better Man membership? I'm going to talk to you right now. What if I told you that you can create heaven on earth every single day by your thoughts, and then hence feel good every single day? I just put a post up once that cheap dopamine hit that you want to get by having a one night stand or meeting somebody new or taking a drink or scrolling or swiping right or swiping left. I create that every single day in my life, all day. So I have all day dopamine hits, and it's all through here, all through doing the work. I never met, and we're going to deep dive into Elise's program, because I guarantee you the things I've done is what she's teaching you. So, gentlemen that are in the program, kudos, listen to her. And everybody that is in the heart of the life that's listening to this, I want to say a name so bad, but it's be inappropriate. Someone's in my DMs, but you know who you are. And I want you to sign up for this program, and I want you to work with her, because she's soft and she's sweet and she gets results. So again, Better Man membership, Elise Micheals, that's ELISE Micheals.com. And we're going to deep dive into that. Let's talk about first a success story. Can you share any particular impactful or transformative, easy enough for me to say, experiences you've had while coaching men, and how it reflects the effectiveness of your program and methods?
Oh, yes. And I actually have a YouTube where I have